Sunsets and Shadows podcast has been brought to you today by the Kiss on My Collar Collective. You can reach them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also reach us at Sunsets and Shadows on Twitter and Instagram as well. Oh yeah. All right, let me stop this. Welcome back. This is episode number 2. I was talking to a friend earlier today, and it's crazy how we were talking about creating platforms. For me, I know it was very difficult because, as I mentioned before, I'll talk about a lot when I was trying to become a rapper coming up for the last 15 years, I believe it was. There was never really a platform. I started right before YouTube artists were taking off, SoundCloud was taking off. I remember MySpace, that was just a whole different kind of monster. But if you didn't have, constant internet access or knowledge of uploading songs to websites and things like that, you really didn't stand a chance. Back then we had getting CDs burnt by somebody and standing on the corner. A lot of people forget about the corner days or selling them out your trunk. That was a completely different monster. Some people, you would stand in front of the corner store if they was cool with it, try to sell your mixtape off, and it was the worst experience ever, but also the best. It teaches you to be a salesman. It shows if you got hustle or not. You get out there and you grind your CDs, grind your music, or, whoever's music you was out there trying to sell. And I remember my days out there was it was crazy. I started off selling somebody else's CD, and that equated to me getting studio time. So I would go out, sell this person's CD, and we'd go to malls and everything. We get kicked out of the malls. They'd ask for vendor's licenses. And at that time, I didn't even know you needed a vendor's license to sell a CD. I can understand if it was a copyright infringement, you were selling somebody else's stuff, but to sell your own, product, even back then or still to this day, I believe, you have to have a vendor's license to be able to sell it. And I understand that, but it's crazy to understand, back to what I was originally talking about, creating platforms. When creating platforms back then, that's all you had was the block. All you had was standing on the corner, hopes and prayers, and just a stack of CDs, and then just that drive, talking to strangers, meeting people you never met before, and trying to convince them in that little bit of time while they're standing there or while they're waiting at the stoplight to give you a chance for $5, $10 CD here and there. And some people, just out the kindness of their heart, and a lot of times when people bought CDs from me, they really didn't care too much about the music itself. They just seen, a young man trying to make $1 in a legitimate way, for the most part. But now, with today's technology and everything that you can do, like most people say, you can do it by a phone. You can set up your whole empire off of your cell phone, which is crazy. But I also came from the time, before cell phones, not to give my age away, but I remember when the house phone was the biggest thing, and when you had a cordless phone, it was like you was rich, answer machines, things like that. But before I deter too much off into that, creating platforms, what me and my friend were discussing is it was nobody teaches you any of that. Nobody teaches you, not in school, not in college. Nobody teaches you about creating a platform. And it's very weird, and my hat's off to a lot of these kids that actually do, understand the concept of how to do it. And, they're out there making lots of money. It's I feel like I was born into two different generations, because the generation before me, they had their, they had their crews, they had the shows booked, they were just masters of networking back then. Everybody knew everybody, or you could meet somebody through the 6 degrees of separation. Like, they knew how to work that. My generation, we came up, we was tired of the people on the block. Nobody, you know what I'm saying? We were spoiled to a certain degree. We felt like we was just good enough to get straight out there, and we should have just been given. And that's a big problem, especially in a lot of people these day and age, where they feel like they just need to that they not need, but they feel like they're entitled, like they don't have to put nothing up, like they don't have to help produce this product. They just want to reap the benefits off of it with as little, you know, pre-production, if you will. And that's another thing that always drives me crazy, because, like, say you have 5 friends and you want to do something. Now you have to convince these 5 people to, you know, help with your dream or follow your dream, even if it benefits them in the long run. And it's sad to say, and I hate to use such a simple analogy, but it reminds me of like a nursery rhyme where it's like the hen was trying to make bread or something like that. She went to all the other animals and was asking them for, you know, to help her with the ingredients, to help her, you know, put this and this together. Can you help me bake the bread? It's like, nah, I ain't trying to help. I ain't trying to help. I ain't trying to do none of that. And then they turn around when she bakes the bread. Now everybody want a piece of it. Well, that's what I was telling my friend that I went through just trying to create a platform for myself. I created the platform because not only for myself, but to give other people that opportunity that didn't know how to do the groundwork or put forth, you know, who didn't understand how to get started with doing something that they wanted to do. Because most people only think of their one thing that they do, and they think that's what's going to cause this whole chain of events. Like, if you rap, it's one thing to have that talent. If you sing, that's one thing to have that talent. But can you produce a song? So now you need to find a producer, or you have to learn how to produce, which is going to take more time, but it won't cost you more money in the long run. If you want to start doing shows, you need a manager. You need somebody to book you. Now, granted, you can book your own shows, which is one thing. But like I said, you'll save money on the manager, but you'll spend a lot more time trying to set all that stuff up, because now you got networking. You got to call and reach out to these people. These people don't know you. You don't have to build a buzz yet. It's a lot of stuff. You need a team. The hardest part of creating any type of platform is when you do it by yourself. It'll save you money because you don't have to pay anybody to do it. But in the long run, you lose a lot of time in the process. So you have to look at it. Do you want to be patient and get your dream going? Or do you want to pay people to get your dream moving forward a little bit faster? Now, you're not going to have the same hands-on vision for your dream if you take that route with a team. But at the same time, you're not going to have the same quality of the vision that you have in your head. You're not going to have that doing it all by yourself, because you can be a jack of all trades and an ace of none. That just it some weird reason, that's just how the universe balances. Steve Jobs had a vision, but he couldn't put a computer together. You know, so you have to look at it that way when you start thinking about, you know, chasing your dreams or starting anything up that you wanted to start up, platforms or whatnot. My idea was I wanted a podcast because I fell in love with other podcasts that I heard, like Joe Budden's podcast, Joe Rogan's podcast, Fun with Dumb. You know, just watching these people who I admired their careers and the other avenues that they had. I just felt like, wow, you know, to see them go through all the things that they went through in their careers and then come out and then their podcasts are just like, you know, great. It's just looking at it from my, like I said, I ask a lot of questions in my podcast because I'm wanting to learn. I want to learn with you. I don't have the answers to a lot of things. I just know I can only speak from the experiences that I perceive in my life. And one of them being starting a platform. That's how I got my show. To some people, this might be the easiest thing in the world. Oh yeah, let me just snap my fingers and then put a podcast together, get a bunch of followers, and be on time to meet my deadlines and everything. Some people just have that. Some people don't. Some people learn as they go. Some people just know how to sit down, work their strategies out. Some people have the backers, the financial backers, somebody to just, help them out with all the equipment. I had to grind for mine. I'm not going to lie. I had to work overtime, pay my bills, put money aside, sacrifice certain things, and then buy piece by piece by piece by piece, buy all of my equipment. And once I did that, that's when I started, I went through the frustrations of it. But while you're going through the frustrations of it, it's because you're looking at the future. You're looking at what's going to happen, and you're wanting to be at that finish line as fast as possible. And it doesn't work like that. What it does work like is every now and then take a step to the side and then look at all the stuff that you've acquired at this point and think about when you started. You started with just an idea, and then you said, wow, I've learned this. I've acquired this. I have, microphones, speakers. I have the software I need. I have, I needed to learn how to mix and master. So now I've figured out mixing and mastering to a certain degree. I mean, I haven't mastered any of this stuff yet, but I'm still figuring it out. A year ago, like, you might hear some of the instrumentations that I play on here. That's all instrumentations that I made. A year ago, I didn't know how to make a beat. Now, I'm not Ninth Wonder. I'm not, Schoolboy Q or Dr. Dre. I'm not close to any of them production-wise. But this is from me tapping on a table a year ago up until the point now where you hear it on my podcast. And it's something to reflect about and be rejoiceful about. For me, that's a personal achievement. I told myself that I was going to learn how to make beats. I told myself that I was going to learn how to sit down and, I can't play a piano for anything, but I figured out how to try to memorize certain sounds and make them record within that 8-bar loop. And I'm sure, a lot of people will be like, well, there's a lot of things missing from your beat, or there's things that you're not doing right. You should learn music theory. And I'm trying. But see, at the end of the day, all you have to do is try. And I hate to sound like one of those, regular, I'm not even gonna say regular, I don't want to take anything away from any motivational speakers, but that the cliche, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, things like that. I understand that. And all information it's not who gives you the information, it's how it's given. That's like, some people don't register things well. Most singers, past and present, they use ghostwriters. Now, it's not saying anything. I don't want to get into all the, the hype about, people using ghostwriters. It's one thing for them to use ghostwriters, but sometimes there's a reasoning behind it. Because a lot of the people who are ghostwriters, I'm not gonna say a lot of them, but I'm sure there's a nice percentage of them who either can't sing and they just know how to put them words together, or people just don't respond to their voice. I don't know if it's got to do with the frequencies or whatever, but there's certain people that you just like, all right, you listen to one song and then you listen to somebody else cover it. And you're like, man, that song you did, that's amazing. And you're like, well, that's not my song. That was a cover. That was such a song. Like, he sang that terribly. Doesn't matter. It was his song. Sometimes people can do the stuff that you're trying to do better than you. People write speeches for other people that change the world. Now, if that person that wrote the speech said it after writing it or, recited it, and people look like, shut up, get off your soapbox. Like, nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear you tell me that. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. And it's weird because that's how society works for some weird reason. Go back to like the super lyrical rappers, right? You know, why are they not the top 10? I mean, I'm sure you've heard this discussion plenty of times, had this discussion with your friends, and then they get tired of all these people who ain't putting as much effort in. They, they're getting everybody's ear. Oh, it's the machine pushing them out. They're trying to dumb us down. No, simplicity sells. It always has. And then you add somebody who's charismatic with it. It doesn't matter where the message came from. People just respond to those frequencies. Sad to say, but it's true. I mean, I'm sure you have a, favorite artist that has, probably some of the most beautiful poetry, prolific lyrics, deepest metaphors and punchlines or whatever you want. Favorite musician that has, put together chords so well and their progressions and, it's so many things, but you love that about that person because that person and their gift to you resonates with you. And it's sad because the masses, we all have guilty pleasures and then we all have those things that we just kind of go along with everybody else and get excited about because you really just respond to everybody else. But I'm determined from my point. What I'm basically saying is you can chase your dream and pick up people along the line that are chasing that same goal, and then you become a team with them, or you can run that path by yourself. Either way, you're going to run that path, unless you just choose to give up and watch everybody else go. Now, me personally, it took me a long time to decide, all right, if I was going to do this, I need to do it. I reached out to a lot of the people that I used to do music with. Some of them said, yeah, I'll let me know what you want me to do. And then some of them, they just completely didn't respond. It didn't matter, because you're not going to get everybody on board to do something that you want to do. You don't know why they are acting the way that they're acting, or you might have done something to slight them in a way to where they don't want to do business with you or don't want to interact with you anymore. And you have to, as an adult, accept that. Everybody don't want to eat with you. I don't know, maybe you smack your food, you bite the fork, I don't know. But everybody don't want to eat with you. So you have to stop trying to feed everybody. That's the biggest issue. The biggest issue is stop having this. I don't know if I'm being politically correct, but stop having this survivor's guilt of your success. If you start to achieve things, you don't have to go back for everybody. Some of them are on their own path to greatness and they don't need a helping hand. It might look like they need it, but you have to look at how you're handling your situation also. You can't baby step everybody into, success. If somebody reaches out to you and you can help them, help them. If you can't, then there ain't nothing to be done. But you don't owe anybody that. We all spent time hanging out, with friends, coming up with these elaborate ideas to get rich one day, and we all told the same lies about, if I hit the Mega Millions, I'm gonna give you money, I'm gonna give you money. We all gonna be eating. Let you get that check. Let you get that $1 million check. You gonna forget about all of them, or you gonna look at them and you gonna want them to have to earn that money that you was just giving. And if you just give somebody a large sum of money just because they were your friend, you are a fool who ain't gonna have money very long. I'm telling you, if you want to know that, if you want to feel that way, think about every time you go out and you party, and you take care of the whole party. Think about every time you spend your paycheck. You buy all the alcohol, you buy all the food, you facilitate the party, right? Every time you get paid, them same people, what we doing tonight? What we doing tonight? What's the idea? What's going on? And then what happens? What happens when you lose that job and you don't have no more money? They gonna keep kicking it because they gonna find somewhere to kick it. They might even let you come kick it a couple of times. But when you don't have nothing to contribute and you put yourself out there as the person who's paying for everything, people don't remember you when you down. You don't get those phone calls to go out. You become a burden to them. So nip that shit. You know what I'm saying? Nip it in the bud. I'm telling you now. I'm talking from personal experience. I've experienced it. Both sides. You know, I've been the person that only called the person because I knew they was kicking it. Which makes me, it made me feel bad, but that's just growing pains. You live and you learn. But then I've also been that person that has facilitated everything and been taken advantage of. And then when I was down, nobody called. Nobody wanted to see about you. Nobody wanted to see, hey, man, want me to bring a box of chicken to the crib? Nothing. You don't hear nothing from them. All people think of is themselves because it's the first law of the universe is self-preservation. You got to survive in all playing fields. That you got to survive. And there's nothing wrong with that because that's nature itself. You remove society from the concept of society from this equation, and it's just a bunch of us on a big wet ball trying to live to the next day. You create allies. Just think about when you were younger and you met your friends. Now, all cases would be different how you meet your friends, but say you lived in an area where it was violent, right? So you meet people who are kind of like you, just trying to make it from home to school every day. So say you started off running home every day and you get there. Then you got tired of running. Then you meet another person who's like, hey, same situation. So y'all decide to walk together. And then that person knows somebody, and that person knows somebody. Next thing you know, you got your own little group of friends. Y'all like to play basketball together, football together. You start, understanding certain concepts of, I won't say concepts, but you start understanding that you're like-minded and you like certain things. You become friends. You start to build those bonds, and those bonds become those, they become what you start to perceive as the law of your friendship. And when I say the law of your friendship is the understanding and rules and regulations of what you are going to do with these people and what you're not going to do with these people. Now, you can be influenced, you can be persuaded to do things, but that's just, group. I think I heard who was a big Meech say that, like, if you hang out with a bunch of players, and I'm paraphrasing to this point, but if you hang out with a bunch of players, you can be a player. If you hang out with a bunch of thieves, you're going to be a thief. Birds of a feather flock together. So you're going to be who you hang out with for the most part. What am I getting at? I felt like I was on a really intelligent rant at this point. I just totally forgot what I was talking about. Oh, man. But platforms. Yeah, think about what you want. Just focus on what you want. Don't think about what's going to be better for everybody around you, because you can't fix that. You can't fix the world, but you can fix the little space that you occupy. And hopefully everyone around you starts to fix their little space. Because think about it. If you stand up, even if you wear size 12 shoes, the most you occupy is maybe a foot maybe a foot ratio. Maybe some people are bigger, some people are smaller, but unless you laying down, you ain't occupying a lot of space while you moving around on this earth. So take the little spot that you in and fix that. Fix the surrounding area that you can fix. Wake up every day, clean your house, clean your room, make your bed. Do little things that make you feel like you've accomplished something. And I mean, they sell books on stuff like this, and I've read a lot of them. I'm not trying to be a self-help guru because I'm still trying to put myself together while I'm telling you this. But we could take this journey together, figure things out, have a little fun in the process. I think one of my greatest achievements is that I woke up one day after a friend gave me some advice and said that I should write a novel. Now, I had made attempts at writing movie scripts because I've always been a movie buff, but I had never written a novel. So I had first looked into it. I said, well, how many words is a novel? And I think it was like 160, 180,000 words, like equal up to a novel. I saw that number and I was like, man, I don't even know that many words. But something inside of me, I think I went through like a bad breakup or something like that. And I just needed something to occupy my mind. Just something. And the alcohol wasn't enough. Just being out in the world wasn't enough. Like I became sheltered. I didn't want to be out in the world. I just shut myself in. I would go to work and I'd come home and I started off in a notepad really. I'd just lay in bed and I'd write this story. And I told myself that I was like, I'm going to write a character and I'm going to destroy him. And it was weird. The character became like a voodoo doll to me almost. Because it seemed like the more I tortured him, the more I was torturing myself. And you can find that book on my website. I know it's a shameless plug. The story is called Beta, The Journey of a Not So Alpha Male. You can find it on Amazon. It's an ebook written by Brandon Clemens. But yeah, like it took me, I think altogether for like 3 years. And I know that's ridiculous but I took a long hiatus somewhere in there because it just got dark. Like just putting yourself in the mindset of that character and all the other characters surrounding him, like it's a lot to take on. You basically reach to a point of insanity. And then, just to pump out this product, like you become determined. And I hadn't known what tunnel vision was until I had started writing that book. Like I had got into it so much that I was rushing to get home from work and I would just go straight to bed. Like I wouldn't eat anything. I just lay in the bed and just drink. I think it was like, I was drinking Jack Daniels at the time. Yeah, I would just drink Jack Daniels and I would just write. And I would just write. And I would just like, to offset the darkness, I would have like motivational speeches playing in the background or some self-help audio book. And I just have it playing in the background just for background noise because I lived alone at the time. But the more and more I wrote, the more and more I looked back, just going over the book. And it was just, the book was writing itself. I was just there scribing. And it was like so much for me to like reflect on it because it was probably one of the darkest times of my life that this book was written. But I did it. And once I did it, a little bit of my stress was alleviated. Once I finally finished the book. After I finished the book, I moved out of that apartment. I had moved out of that apartment. I came to my current location, started a job where I ended up meeting my wife, where we ended up getting married and then had our little girl, Lydia. And then it led up to me having this podcast. But that would have to have been my first major achievement for myself. Now, I don't know if it sold any. I don't know if anybody's even read it all the way through. All I know is that I took what I was going through. Now, the story, it's a lot of twists and turns to it. It's not about me. It's not about things that I went through. So I don't want anybody to think that anything in the book is personally about them. It was just an energy that I had to release out of me, and I had to put it somewhere. It was like, I don't know, it's like Ghostbusters. Like, just kick the little machine out, and I caught a ghost. It's like bottling a demon or something. But I had to get it out of me and put it into something, and I did with my novel. And then it felt to just describe that feeling, it felt like I had been walking through a dark forest with rusty armor on. And when I wrote my novel, it was like a piece of this weighted, rusty armor just fell off. And then it just gave me a sensation of I have a little bit more energy to keep going. And then every achievement since then has been this armor falling off of me, just piece by piece. And the more it falls off, because you walk with that weight on you for so long, you don't realize how much stronger you are without it. And then you start to just see things and perceive things, and then just making them happen no matter what's going on. I didn't believe that it could happen like that. I was always too busy focusing on the fact that I had this weight on me, and I wasn't moving as fast as I once was, until I started doing things with my time. Your time is valuable. That's why they pay you at your job. That's why they give you a wage. They don't give you what it's worth, but they know that your time is something. It's worth something. And you have to treat it like that. Don't just accept anything. If it's not what you want, don't just accept it. My friend and I were also talking about getting older. Once you're in your 30s, like, you get, if I would have known this stuff earlier in life, I think I'd have probably been somewhere else. But it's just like now, if somebody calls you up like, hey, we're going to go out to this club tonight. You want to go? It's like, no, I don't want to go. I'm paying this amount of money for my house every month. I just want to stay here and enjoy what I'm paying for. And that's something that you, as an adult, that's something that you start to understand. Your time means stuff. Like, you just want to rest. Like, I want to rest. I want to lay in my bed and sleep all day. I mean, you feel some type of way afterwards because you're so used to trying to be productive and get things done that you didn't get anything done. But I'm telling you, that one day that you just spend an extra hour of sleep past when your alarm's supposed to be, there's no feeling like it. Or a nap. Oh, God. There's nothing greater than a nap. All right, well, I think that's enough for today's episode. I do want to thank you guys for, subscribing, listening, and tuning in. I'm trying to get more consistent with when I'm going to be releasing these. So just stay tuned and keep listening, looking out for your notifications. But you have the Twitters, you have not Twitters, I sound like an old person. You have the Twitter handle, you have the Instagram, Gatsby Shadows at Twitter. You can reach me there. Sunsets and Shadows Podcast. You can email me at sunsets and shadows podcast at gmail. Just, give me some feedback. Let me know what you think. If you like it, you don't like it. I don't give a shit if you don't like it. Because I'm going to keep doing it anyway, because these are my achievements, not yours. And till next time, thank you again.